By transforming an object, you can change its position, orientation, or scale without changing its form. In this lesson, you will be learning the fundamental transformation commands move, copy, and rotate. Go ahead and open the transformation project file. Let's begin with the move command. Click Move on the Modify panel, or press Enter on the keyboard. All the transformation commands begin with the Select Objects prompt. Select the yellow triangle and click Enter. The command prompt says Specify Base Point. If you want to move something freehand, you can just click a base point at some arbitrary point on the screen, and then click the second point at some other arbitrary point. If you want to move an object relative to another object, you can use Object Snap. Let's try this again. I'll press the spacebar to repeat the move command. Select the object and press the spacebar to exit the Select Objects prompt. Then I'll go up here and snap to the center of this circle. And then I'll snap to the center of this other circle. So I've moved the yellow triangle a distance and an angle that's encoded here in the position of these two circles. Of course, another way you can move objects is using a measurement. I'll move the previous object. I'll type P, Enter, press Enter again, and then I'll click some arbitrary point. Take care not to click a point that snaps to an object. When I say arbitrary point, I mean to move the cursor away from the other objects on the screen so that snap doesn't interfere with your selection. So I'll click some point, and then I'll type in a distance on the keyboard. I'll type at 5, 0, so I can move it 5 units over horizontally using Cartesian coordinates. You can also use the polar system if you prefer. Let's try this again. Move this object, Enter, click a point, and then type at 5, angle -45, Enter. So I've moved it 5 units down at an angle of -45. The copy command is the same as the move command, with the difference that it leaves a copy of the original behind. Click Copy, select the yellow triangle, press Enter, click a base point, and then type at 5, angle 135, Enter. Notice that the copy command can continue. I could continue copying objects by clicking points if I wanted to copy things freehand. Or I could type in values on the keyboard if I wanted to use a measurement. Of course, you can also use drawing aids like ortho or polar modes if you want to constrain the motion along a certain vector. Or you can copy objects relative to other objects by using Object Snap. Let's try that. Press Enter, and then Enter again to repeat the copy command. I'll copy these 3 triangles, Enter, from this base point to this second point. Enter again. The copy command also has an array option, which allows you to make multiple copies that are evenly spaced. Let's try that next. I'll type CO for copy, press Enter. I'll select this red circle, press Enter. I'll select an arbitrary base point, and then I'll click the Array option. It says Enter number of items to array. Let's say 3. Enter. And then as I move the cursor, you can see what's happening. Those 3 items are equally spaced along the total distance of the array. I'll click here to complete this copy array, and then press Enter. Copy arrays are not associative, which means that the objects are not combined into some overarching array object, like they are with the Array tool. Instead, the copy array produces individual objects. Let's try the Rotate command next. Click Rotate. Select this cyan-colored pentagon and press Enter. The rotation command needs a center point around which you rotate the objects that you select. So here I'll specify the base point at the center of this circle. And I can rotate an object freehand just by moving the mouse around like this and clicking. You can also rotate things using a rotation angle. So let's try that next. Press Enter to repeat the rotate command. Select the same pentagon. Enter. Select the same base point. But this time I'll type in an angle value. I'll type in -45. Enter. Negative angles rotate objects clockwise, whereas positive angles rotate objects counterclockwise. You can also rotate objects relative to other objects. To see this, let's move the pentagon so that one of its vertices is coincident with one of the vertices here on this hexagon. I'll move the pentagon, Enter, from this vertex to this vertex. I'm using running endpoint object snap to make this easier. Then I'll use Rotate, select the pentagon, Enter, click this as the base point of the rotation, and I don't know the angle that I want to rotate it. Let's say I want to get it down about like that. I don't know the number, but I don't need to. I can click the reference option and then specify the reference angle interactively. Let me zoom in here so you can see this a little more closely. The reference angle will be determined by clicking these 2 points here and here. You see, now I have the pentagon attached to the rubber band, which I can move with my cursor. The new angle will be snapped right here. So I've precisely rotated it to be parallel to this edge using the reference option. In summary, you now know how to transform objects freehand with measurements or with snap relative to other objects. With practice, you should be able to move, copy, and rotate objects to suit any situation.